Hey, it's Julia Burnett. Okay, this is going to be a video about being bold. How about that? Now, I can't say I'm the boldest person in the world, but I am going to say I've come a long way on this. To start off the call, to christen the call, I have a rockin' red lip gloss, and oh yeah, I'm going to put it on. Look at that. I'm learning to be bold. I even put on green eyeshadow for this call. Okay, that looks a little ridiculous, but hang on. Okay, now I feel bold. Anyway, okay, so I wanted to make this message about being bold, not because I am the end all be all on being bold, but really because I've come a long way. And I want to teach you some of the things that I've learned over the years about being more bold. Now, some of this I want to give credit where credit is due. Some of this I got on the internet from, I don't even know where, from WikiHow or somewhere, but a lot of it is just my own journey. So bold, I want you to know, does not mean like aggressive, in your face bold, like bold. Actually, I think you can be humbly bold, and I don't want you to confuse boldness with like aggressiveness where you're putting your viewpoints onto other people. In fact, boldness really has nothing to do with other people. Boldness has everything to do with yourself. It has to do with you overcoming your own fears and taking action even despite of the fears. So I want you to think about someone that you really respect, like someone that you really respect who is bold. It could be a real person that you know. It could be a character in a book or a movie. But what about that person actually makes them bold to you? And what is it that you admire about them? I think that boldness means confidence and like a centeredness, like a knowingness and where you're going, and a settledness in knowing the direction you're going without carrying the baggage of what else someone else thinks of you. Now, I know that that's easier said than done. Because I've come a long way in that department. But I'm assuming that you're watching this because you want to be more bold. You want to get from point A to point B, and that you do desire to move up and out of where you are in life. I know this last week I got to hear from National Sales Director Stacy James, and one of the phrases she said that made an impact on me was she said that most people rather settle into unhappiness than uncertainty. Most people rather settle into unhappiness than uncertainty. And I think uncertainty is part of the journey where like you don't know what's behind door number one, you don't know what's behind door number two or door number three, but you choose to go ahead and open door number one, door number two, door number three, even though you don't know, what's exactly going to be there. And so like if you're building a team, I want us to go purposefully to door number one or purposefully to door number two. And I want you to be pre-thinking ahead of time, what kind of qualities of women do you want on your team? Like, do you know the type of person that you want to attract into your life? Because I've always said that you're not just looking for any yes. That's kind of like a yes out of desperation, but you're looking for the right yes. You're looking for the right people to do life with. You're looking for the right people to invest in and to grow your team. One of the first points I want to give you about being bold is that people want to follow a leader who's going somewhere. I mean, you got to think about it. Most people don't have any type of leadership in their life. I mean, I hope that you do have leadership in your life. I hope that you were led well as a child and in school and so on in your life. I hope you had mentors. But the majority of people, I can't really say that they probably have a mentor or someone that's leading them well. And there is a leadership void in the world. I mean, the world is devoid of leaders. And Jesus even said the harvest is plentiful, but the workers are few. And I think that being a leader and being bold is deciding that you're going to be the leader in your current surroundings and in your current environment, whether that's being at home with your children, you're going to lead them, or whether it's living in your community or in your neighborhood, that you're going to lead something in your community, or being a leader in your Mary Kay business, or being a leader at your current job, wherever you are. Leadership, I believe, is a choice. The second thing is that, as we work on this bold thing, there's a difference between goal-oriented and growth-oriented. And I want to read you a little something that I pulled up from Dr. John Maxwell in his book, The 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth. Okay, that book is like seriously amazing. I could probably read it a couple times, but oh goodness, let me see, where is it? Here we go. He talks about the difference between being goal-oriented and growth-oriented. So someone who's goal-conscious They focus on a destination, whereas the growth conscious person focuses on the journey. The goal conscious person motivates you and other people's, whereas a growth focus matures you and others. A goal conscious is a seasonal, like there's a beginning and an end, and the growth is lifelong. The goal oriented person challenges you, the growth oriented person changes you. And then the last thing is the goal oriented person stops when the goal is reached, and the growth conscious person keeps going beyond the goal. And I love that. And I think that there's a place in life and in our business that you do both. You set goals and you have goals, but your mode is more of a growth oriented mode. We are always talking about, building the holistic woman. We want to build all parts of you, not just the business side of you. And that's the same thing, like when your goal is to get into your red jacket, or your goal is to get through DIQ into directorship. It's never the end. It's not the finish line. It's just a point along the way. It's more about the journey. So I want you also to think about, people want to follow a leader who's going somewhere. I can't think of anyone in history who ever bent history or did anything great without having the characteristics of being bold. I mean, even like Mother Teresa, even she was super bold. She went to India and she felt called to go into the slums. And when she reported back to her church authorities that that's where she felt called to go, I think she got some pushback, and she kept pursuing and saying, no, this is where I'm supposed to go. This is where I'm supposed to go. And eventually they caved in, but it was because of her boldness of putting it out there. And even when she came to London back in 1989, she was invited there by Margaret Thatcher. And even then, she, in no unapologetic terms, very openly talked about the plight of the poor, even though it was clear that wasn't exactly what Mrs. Thatcher wanted to talk about. She took that opportunity to be bold. And I know Hebrews 4:16 says, let us therefore come boldly to the throne of grace, that we may obtain mercy and find grace to help in time of need, meaning let's come to God boldly asking for what it is that we want. And the Bible is full of Jesus being bold and being confident. So as you work towards your bookings for the month as it relates to business, whether it's a book 1 or a book 5 or a book 10, that's only going to be accomplished when you decide to take very small actions of boldness. So one of the little activities I want to give you is to pretend you're already bold. Wear rock and red lip gloss. No, I'm just kidding. Although that could be really fun. But if you were to switch places with someone, to try to think about to be as bold as you can be, sometimes it's good just to pretend like, well, what would I do if I were in their shoes? Or how would I behave if I was so-and-so? If you already know someone who's bold, just imagine how would they act. If you don't know anyone like that, just think of a character in a movie or a character in a book who's daring and brave. I think it's kind of fun if maybe you had a bold day. If you say, tomorrow is going to be my bold day, and I'm going to wear a color I've never worn before. I'm going to do my hair differently. I'm going to, like for this video, I put on green eyeshadow just for the heck of it. And I actually kind of like it. It's actually kind of fun. But long story short, sometimes you got to act it before you become it. Does that make sense? And once you act it, you go, oh, it's sort of like, have you ever gone to a different town? And like, if you're in a different town, sometimes you have more boldness. Like you can talk to strangers maybe better than you can in your own town. Why would that be? I have no idea. Not that we go around talking to strangers, but I'm just saying, sometimes in a different town, you can be more bold because you're like, well, no one knows me here. And so why can't you do that in your own town? Another phrase that I got from Stacey James is to say, what would the powerful, and insert your name, do? Like, what would the powerful Julia Burnett do? What would the powerful Julia Burnett say? How would the powerful Julia Burnett handle this situation? And so ask yourself the same thing. But put your name in there. I think that's kind of an empowering thought, because there have been many times where I just wanted to crawl in my closet and suck my thumb. And then I thought, no, what would the powerful me do? And it's really helped me to kind of come out into my own, okay? The next thing about being bold is to make the first move. Whenever you're feeling hesitant, especially with your interactions with other people, sometimes you just got to swallow your pride and make the first move without really thinking too long. You know that movie, I Just Bought a Zoo, how he says in the movie, 20 seconds of insane courage can radically, entirely change your life. And sometimes, like, you know how he met his wife in that movie, he saw her in a coffee shop window, he just ran in suddenly, introduced himself to her, and got her number, and they ended up being married. I mean, same thing with me. When my husband met me, he just walked up to me, asked me for my phone number, and next thing you know, we're married. So I just gotta say, had he not been bold and courageous, I don't know if I ever would have taken the first move. So long story short, practice just taking the first move with little things in your life. The other day at my workout class, they asked for someone to to practice like doing like a handstand, and they're like, who wants to try it? And I'm working on being more bold. And I'm like, I'll do it, And so here I am, probably the weakest one in the class. I run up and I try to do a handstand, and I felt like a fool. But it kind of felt good to be like, I'll do it, like just to, without even thinking, just to pick up and start doing it. Oftentimes, when I was in booking mode as a consultant and a director, I would pick up the phone and I would dial it before I really even thought about it. Now today, maybe, I mean, I hope we're dialing numbers, but I know now we're texting and doing lots of other ways too. But I would like dial the number, and as it was ringing, I'm literally like, now who am I calling? What am I saying? And I would almost do it in a way so that I didn't think myself out of it. Like, I knew if I thought about it too long, I would just make it into a monster, and I would think myself right out of it. The same thing goes like with the purse game at my Mary Kay parties. We were always taught to say, Mary Kay always said at every future appointment, there's another consultant sitting out there. I wonder who it's going to be. And I never felt like I could say that because I don't know, it just totally freaked me out. And I just thought if I said that, they would look at me like I had 7 heads. And so I learned to just incorporate that into the purse game. And so instead of following the letters like normal, I stuck a W right in the middle of the letters, and I would go, W. And as they're looking through the purse for an item, I'd go, I just said it. Now they're going to come back with a W. I have to say this. And I wanted to vomit, but it took me like a year to get over like the fear of actually going W, but I like would just say it without thinking, and then I would force myself to have to say it, and now I can say it, and I'm like, why would that ever freak me out? But it did. So sometimes you just got to move into action before you like think yourself into oblivion. Okay. The next thing about being bold is practice doing unpredictable things and keeping it fun. What could you do or say that would completely surprise your sales director? I mean, just completely surprise her. Could you get a new haircut, a new hair color? Could you maybe wear high heels instead of flip-flops? Could you make more booking calls than you've ever made before? Could you accessorize your outfit? What if you asked your director how you could support her? Oh my gosh, that'd be crazy. But bold people aren't afraid of trying new things. And one of the reasons I think bold people are so exciting to be around is because there is always like a bit of unpredictability and funness to them. Like when I think of Nicole Broomall, for those of you that know her, she's always got different hair. Or like when you think of Tina France, I mean, her outfits are just awesome. Like there's always something fun. And it's not about being shallow, it's just about being fun. Like it may have cost her $5 for that outfit to accessorize, but she puts things together in such a fun way. I think you can start small by, adding a new color. I know when I got out of corporate America, I just wore black all the time, black and gray and brown. And my friend Alexander Palace brought me a bright pink shirt and was like, here, you need more color in your life. And I knew what she was trying to say, but I took it very, very kindly. But she was trying to say, hey girl, you need some color in your life instead of like all this black. So I think part of it is that you've got to practice laughing at how big your goal is and laughing at how fun it is. Like when you say, it's crazy, like your goal is crazy. It is crazy because we think big in Mary Kay, which I hope you do think big for your sake and for your children's sake. I hope you're thinking big. But to say, I know it's crazy, but just to keep it light and not to keep it like so heavy. Practice telling people, man, this is crazy, this is crazy, this is crazy. And it's outrageously exciting, but I'm bold enough to go for it. So here it is. I'm courageous enough to put it out there. Okay, like you don't even need to be that fearless really to be bold, but just let people know that you're crazy enough to go for it. And it kind of gives you carte blanche to say whatever the heck you want to say to people. Okay, and the biggest thing is it will attract people to you. Remember the first point. People want to follow someone who's going somewhere. So if you've got big audacious goals, I mean, I think most people will be like, wow, that girl's going somewhere. They're way more likely to want to go with you than if you're like, I'm quitting tomorrow. Okay. The next thing about being bold is practice asking for what you want rather than waiting to be recognized for your efforts. Let me say that again. Practice asking for what you want rather than waiting to be recognized, okay? Or expecting someone to think about you and consider your needs. Why don't you take the initiative, step right up to the plate and ask? No more passive aggressive. Throw passive aggressive down the toilet. And passive aggressive is essentially like not telling someone what you think and then like brewing behind the scenes, okay, and kind of like being mad that they couldn't read your mind, essentially. And sometimes, you just got to tell people, this is what I need from you, or I just need to hear you say you can believe in me. I've had to tell people in my own family, the words, in the spirit of truth and honesty, I just need to tell you this. We need to talk about this. This is what I need you to know about me in order to make our relationship work. Let me help you understand me so that we can have the best relationship ever. Some people feel that when you ask for things, that might be being like greedy, or it might be selfish or rude. And if it's not out of a real desire to understand one another better or to make progress better, like if you're a teacher and there's something you need for your classroom, asking for what you need is not being greedy or selfish. You're doing it because your heart intention is so that you can best serve the students in your classroom. So the same thing when you speak up for what you need or what you want, it's so that your relationship can be the best that it can be. And all they can really say is no. Okay, the next point is to learn to take risks, but begin taking risks like as a practice. There's a difference between being reckless and accepting risks. Okay, reckless people don't accept risk because they don't even think about risk. They're just reckless, okay? But a bold person, on the other hand, they're well aware of the risk and they have decided to go through with the decision anyway. They're ready and they're willing to accept the consequences if things don't work out. So for many people, having had taken a risk and fallen flat on their face was actually far more fulfilling than having done nothing at all. And I can say that in my own life. I'm so glad I did. And I want to live my life looking back going, yeah, I'm so glad that I did, instead of, I wonder what I could have done. I don't even want to think that thought, that I would end my life and have regrets over the things I didn't do. There's a book that left a profound impact on me. I read it when I was in corporate America, and it was everything I needed to know about life and leadership I learned in kindergarten. And it was like the first chapter, and it basically said, in life, to make a decision, and then you decide to make it the right decision. Like you spend zero energy second guessing your decision. So you make a decision and then you manage that decision. You just decide it was going to be the right decision. I'm going to make many decisions to manage that. But if you don't second guess yourself, then you can just spend more energy focusing on the right way to go. So part of that is like when you're gonna, let's say, go out to eat and you want to go to a restaurant, and the old thing, where do you want to go? I don't know. Where do you want to go? Where do you want to go? And spend like forever trying to make a decision. I want you to practice, boom, making a decision. Like, let's go to here, boom. Like, I want you to just practice making a decision. Or if you're in the grocery store line and you're trying to decide between, two different types of gum, you just go, boom, I'm getting that one. And you just make it. And then you don't second guess it. And I know it sounds really trivial and silly, but you've got to learn to practice making decisions in small things. And then you can slowly build up to larger and larger things and learn to trust yourself, trust your gut. National Sales Director Gloria Maple-Banks, she said, she went to Harvard Business School. I asked her one time, what was the biggest thing you learned at Harvard? And she said, the ability to make a decision. So think about that. Do you own the ability to make a decision and then stand behind your decision and back it up that was the right decision? Okay. Now, I'm not saying if you really are in the wrong, not being able to admit it. I'm not talking about that, but I'm just saying use your discernment gene that God gave you to make decisions. Okay. The next thing about being bold is not to be afraid of failure. And I think that's sometimes the biggest thing, that, if we were guaranteed yeses every time we stepped out of our comfort zone, then it wouldn't be your comfort zone. So you got to be okay with rejection. You got to be okay with falling down flat on your face. Let me tell you this, you're supposed to fail. Like, you're supposed to fail. That's what happens. Not only are you supposed to fail, but you're supposed to fail over and over and over again. Like, that's the only way that anybody who's ever done anything on the whole planet has ever succeeded, is by failing, and failing big, and failing lots and lots of times. It would be kind of delusional, actually, to think that you could accomplish anything big with your life and not fall down ever. So I want you to embrace failure and to understand failure is not the opposite of success, but it's the necessary component to success. Okay. I have heard this phrase from many a brilliant woman in Mary Kay. And let me ask you, the phrase is, school was cake. Everything I ever wanted to do in life came easy to me. School was cake, sports was cake, blah, blah, blah was cake. And then I got into Mary Kay, and it's hard. Have you ever thought that? X, Y, and Z in my life are so easy, but why does this feel so hard? Well, let me ask you a question. If other things came so easy to you, then does that really display what you're made of? Like, if school was easy to you, then does that really show character? If sports was really easy to you, then does that show character? I mean, obviously it shows some character. But if there's something that was easy, then what that means is that you really didn't have to work very hard at it. You just experienced success. That's not very character building. I know character building is when it's hard and you do it despite of. I know something that's character building when everything in you wants to quit and you just want to turn the other direction. And in fact, that would be the easy choice. Quitting is the easy choice. The character choice is to keep going even when it's hard and to say, other people have done it. I know I can too. So really only in experiencing adversity does it really show you what you're made of. The next point is boldness kind of helps you to rediscover who you are. You can't let people knock you down when you're trying something new, because they're usually the kind of people that wish they were as bold as you are, or they're usually the kind of people that wish they were as courageous as you are, and they don't simply have the boldness or the courage to do what you're doing. And so it's just easier, as we know, for them to just knock you down, right? So I want you to start using boldness to really start appreciating your uniqueness and who you are. Like, discover what makes you different from the people around you. Like, we don't want clones of each other. Like, I don't want you to be just like your mentor. I don't want you to be just like your director. I don't want you to try to be just like me. I just want you to be your best you, not somebody else. Like, we already have a Julia Burnett. We already have an Amber Nichols. We already have a Jenny Rayleigh. We don't need another one of those. We need one of you, okay? And for me personally, I was all like messed up with all this. And the only way that I was able to shift out of it was I had to do my own little Bible study, so to speak, and look in scripture from Genesis to Revelations. And I literally had to read on my own, what does God say about me as an individual creation? And I got to Ephesians 1:4, and it depends on what version that you read, but one of the versions said that before the creation of the world, I thought fondly of you. Before the creation of the world, I thought fondly of you. And that phrase just sang to my soul, because I thought, in some form or some way, some form or another, what that means is that I pre-existed in the mind of God. Maybe not in form or physical, but I thought I pre-existed in the mind of God before the creation of the world. And so that just kind of like was hard for my head to even comprehend. But it made me realize that if I tried to be like someone else, or if I look in the mirror and I think like who I am or what I'm doing or my soul isn't adequate enough or isn't enough, then I'm essentially slapping God in the face. And I'm essentially saying that who you made me to be is not enough. And you also, that you can't equip me to do what you've called me to do. And when I started to realize that's a big slap in the face to my creator, then it really changed everything. I started thinking, oh, I have everything inside of me I need to be successful. And if I don't have it in there, God will equip me in the right time. But my job is to keep my head down. Don't look to the left. Don't look to the right. Keep my head down, full on, no drama, and just take the next step in front of me, no matter how mundane it may be. Okay. And I really just latched on to, I'm enough. So the last thing I want to say as we kind of end this is, that, if you have support from the people around you in your business, that is awesome. If you have support from your sales director or your national sales director in your business, that is awesome. But you know what? If you don't, as terrible as that may be, it's not the end of the world, because you know what? All you really need to be successful in this business is you, your attitude, your customers, and your team. That's what you need to be successful. And so I want to leave you with that you can do it despite of what people in your life are saying. You can do it despite of what support you're getting. You can do it anyway because you have your customers, and your team. And the last thing I want to give you, as you want to earn a point for watching this, I'm going to give you a little password that you can tell your director. And the password is, I'm down with my bold self. Okay, I am down with my bold self. So let me just review. The keys to being, in my opinion, to being bold is to understand people want to follow a leader who's going somewhere. The difference between goal-oriented and growth-oriented is you want to do both, but growth-oriented says this is part of the journey. Boldness is a journey, and you will keep going beyond the goal. The goal is not the end-all be-all. It's just a point along the way. Nobody bent history and did anything significant without being bold and courageous. Pretend you're already bold. Pretend how someone you already know is bold. Pretend you have a bold day. Decide that you'll start practicing making the first move. Do something unpredictable. Decide to keep it fun and not so heavy. Practice asking for what you want, and learn to take risks, even if they're small, and learning to make a decision, and then you manage that decision. Being okay to fall down, and use boldness to rediscover who you are in all of your credible talents that God gave you. So remember, the password is, I'm down with my bold self. Y'all have a great day.